But
speaking of famous,
we've got some LSU baseball talk here to close out the show. We've got a nice little segment here, a little Mondays with Mikie. Mikie Mahtook is joining the show. Mikie, how's it going? Good to see you. It's been a while.
What's up, guys? Been a while.
What's
How
up,
do I look? Can you hear me?
You look beautiful.
You look great.
Perfect.
But just quick,
you got that golf course tan. I can already tell it's coming through.
You like that?
Yeah.
You like that? Yeah.
That's what was making
fell
the
apart in
teeth
the back
whiter.
nine, but you know what? Good start.
I think as soon as I texted you, I was like, "How's it going?" You're like, not too bad.
Yeah, you
right
you
after
you
it
mushed
you.
You mushed me. No doubt.
is that a dog on the shirt? Check that dog.
Is he a
out.
Roback guy?
Yeah, he's got the Roback.
Oh,
on.
a little rollback.
Yeah. We've all
No
got
free ads.
No, well, we're sponsored. This show's sponsored by Roback.
Hey, okay.
We'll get you over there. We'll get the mic'd up boys
we're gonna make
sponsored
it
too.
happen. But great weekend for LSU baseball. Obviously, they were able to sweep in Frisco. They win all 3 games. Wasn't without some obstacles. But what were your major takeaways from this weekend's performance?
For me, it was a weekend that I think everybody was anticipating. You know, it was the first weekend where you had a ramp up in competition, and you had you're facing pitching staffs that had guys that threw hard, had guys that had the ability to get our offense out, and I think LSU responded extremely well. I think offensively, they played as good as you could expect them to play for the first, the 3 games this past weekend. I mean, they scored double-digit runs in 2 of the 3 games, and they did everything that you want it to be. I think the real I don't want to say question mark, but the real thing I was looking forward to most is what's going to happen when the pitching staff inevitably gets into kind of a jam. And they got that a couple times. They got in and out of it. They got put behind the 8 ball in the second game, giving up going down 5-0, and then coming back. And then obviously, I think the one thing that I don't think anybody anticipated happening was the defense being as elite as it has been. Right. They made top play after top play, and then in the game against Kansas State, obviously that perfect relay to send them into extra innings. So I think it was a great weekend for LSU. Obviously, they just got bumped up to the number 1 team in the country, and I think moving forward, that weekend is what they needed to move forward, getting into the SEC the next couple weeks.
Yeah, no, obviously it's going to be a nice little boost as they get into SEC play next week. Talking about this team, the pitching staff obviously has been the talk of the town. Just whether it's the starters, the bullpen, the closers, the whole thing. What makes this pitching staff so special in the way that they've performed throughout to this season?
There's a few things. I think the one thing, not talking about necessarily talent, but I mean they're so deep. They have a bunch of guys that they can throw out there. They're confident to throw out there. They fill up the zone. They throw a ton of strikes, and then they obviously have, an extreme amount of talent. They have a lot of guys that throw upper 90s. You have a few freshmen that come here touching 100, and so those guys, they don't just throw hard. They know how to pitch. They have multiple pitches. Like I said, they attack the zone. They fill up the zone. They are the aggressors. They kind of set the tempo of the game, and it feels like everybody that comes in has done that, right? And I think they have a really good mix of lefties and righties, and you have a really good mix of different types of pitchers. Zach Cohen comes in there, and he's more of a pitcher. 90-93, sinker balls, really good changeup, is a pitcher, right? Can go in, out, up, down, do whatever he needs to do. And then you have guys like Rizzi, and you have guys like Case and Evans who are freshmen that throw, they're a little bit louder with their fastball. And I tell you what, boys, Case and Evans is he is a bona fide superstar in the back end of that bullpen.
Were you surprised to see them go to him back-to-back? Just because it's freshman workload? Okay.
I think that, he's, coming out of high school, he was like the 12th rated shortstop in all of Texas and like the 8th rated pitcher, right? So he's a super athlete. You can tell when he's on the mound that he is an athlete, that he didn't just pitch his whole life. And then, honestly, dude, he had that outing earlier in the week. I think it was on Monday. Oh, no, it was against Dallas.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
Yep.
And then he had the day off, and then he threw, and he went back-to-back. And he did everything that they anticipated him doing. I imagine that you're going to see that role from him moving forward.
And you talk, I mean, obviously a little bit of the freshman, like you've seen it on the pitching staff a little bit. Tough weekend for Cooper Williams, but on the offensive side, I think that the emergence of Curiel continuing to do this, like obviously he was super highly touted coming out of high school, was a little surprised to see him sign at LSU, but his emergence as the guy in your leadoff spot, I think that's what made this lineup be impactful the way it is, because now you have protection for Bear Jones with Dickinson behind him.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. Obviously, Curiel had a bunch of high expectations coming in LSU, and you just never really know what how they're going to how they're going to adjust, or how early they're going to adjust as freshmen. And he's adjusted really well. I mean, he's hitting 400, and his on base percentage is probably 600. I don't know the exact. Yeah, he's walking. He's his plate discipline, which has been very highly touted coming in, that he understands the strike zone. He's very poised at the plate. You're seeing that he doesn't chase. He knows who he is. He's starting to hit some balls a little more thump. Obviously, Jared Jones is who he is. Dickinson emerging behind him. That's a huge thing because, Jay said in his interview, he goes, you can walk him all you want. You get 6 RBIs behind him. I think that sends that kind of solidifies the top 3. But I think for me, what made this weekend so special for the offense was the bottom of the lineup. Mm-hmm. Was Stanfield starting to kind of get on base and get hits and be that guy. And then it looks like Jay's going to platoon, right? He looks like he's going to do matchup based off the starter, where you have Tanner Reeves starting against the righties, and then you have Braswell starting against the lefties, and then Josh Pearson. He said, "Hey, don't forget about me, boys. I'm here. I'm pretty good. I'm a senior. I'm a veteran. I come with the big hits." I mean, he was the MVP of the tournament.
Yep.
And I think he's put himself. I think he started all 3 games, and I think we were talking about this on Mic'd Up last week. Is who's going to take control of everybody's going to get opportunities until somebody kind of steps up and takes control of that role, and it feels like Josh Pearson did that. But it's an embarrassment of riches. Fry comes in there, pinch hit, gets a start, hits a homer. You have a bunch of different options, but I think Jay knows his 6, 7 guys that he knows that are consistently being in the lineup, and then he's going to platoon based off matchups and then ride the hot hand.
And a lot has been made as I'm scrolling through the Tiger droppings. At 2:44 a.m., Hip Hop Anonymous, LSU tied for last in the SEC in home runs with 9. Tennessee obviously at the top of the board with 28, Alabama 27. Down you go, but LSU and Kentucky have 9. Is there a lot to be made, or should that be a bigger conversation going forward as this transition from LSU being guerrilla ball and usually is able to win games with the homer to now it feels like if you have Stanfield playing the way that he is and Curiel being able to, they can just turn this lineup over on you. But is it a concern for you that LSU is last in the SEC in homers?
Look, it's fun to hit homers. It is. I mean, everybody wants to see the long ball. It's easy runs. You can make up a lot of ground, or you can kind of run away with the game pretty quickly with home runs. But if you're scoring 10 runs a game, not hitting homers, I think that's a good sign. I think that the ultimate goal is to score more runs than the other team, right? That's how you win. And I don't care how you score the runs as long as you're scoring the runs. And they're getting a lot of hits. They're driving balls in the gap. They're hitting extra bases. They're taking extra bases. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a dynamic offense, more so than relying on the home runs. Now, I do think that you're going to start seeing them kind of hit the home run ball a little bit more, right? I think, Milam's starting to get hot. He had a couple home runs. This weekend, you have, Dickinson's had a couple home runs. Bear Jones should have had another home run, but the win apparently was keeping it in. But you're going to start seeing guys leave the ballpark. They haven't started off that way. I'd rather see it this way than the other way. You saw it last year where all they could do is hit home runs, and they didn't really sustain hits. Everybody was complaining about that last year. Man, all we do is hit homers. We don't sustain. We can't get base after base hit. We're not a really good offensive team. We just rely on the home run. Now it's the opposite, and everybody wants the home runs. You can't please both sides, right? It's not a team that's going to go out there and say, oh, we're going to hit 150 homers. I think you look up at the end of the year, and, they could be in that 60, 70 home run range. And as long as they're having good at-bats and they're getting on base and they're driving guys, I don't care how you score as long as you're scoring.
Yeah, another one about this weekend, obviously away from the team, but the fan base. Obviously, when you look when you were watching the game and you looked in the crowd, I mean, it was nothing.
Felt like a home game.
Nothing but purple and gold. I mean, when Schmidt, we played the clip early in the show, Schmidt got that strikeout to close out game number 2, and it looked like he was in Alec Box. Just talk about the fan base and how special it is that on a weekend in February and March, they can all travel to Frisco and pack out a stadium like that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, I think that's known around the country that LSU travels really well. It definitely helped that they scheduled this on Mardi Gras weekend, right? So the people who are Mardi Gras out, they're trying to get out of Louisiana and trying to go somewhere else. Dallas is a great place to go. It's not too far away, but it didn't matter where it was going to be. LSU was going to travel. They always travel, and above that, not even going to the game. I mean, when they crashed the D1 baseball website. The first game.
What a nightmare!
Yeah, people are trying to spend. They're paying $40 just to watch the weekend, and they're probably going to cancel the subscription after that. But they crashed the website. So to credit to the LSU fans, it's obviously what makes coming to LSU so special is you have the fan base, and you have a lot of really good teams in the SEC that have some sort of the recent history. Tennessee is one of those teams where their fans are really into it, but they don't have the long history that LSU has. They don't have going back to the late 80s to where they are a juggernaut, and they just have that lasting tradition, right? It's kind of a newer tradition for them, and that lasting tradition travels no matter where you go. And so it's fun. I know the players enjoy that. As a player, it's nice to have energy in the stands and being able to feed off of that. So kudos to the LSU fans. They obviously never surprise me, whether it's drinking all the beer in a football stadium or crashing a website or showing up in Frisco in perfect weather. I think they're always going to show up and show out.
Obviously the Nebraska gets up 5-0 against LSU. Was there ever a point where you were nervous? I felt like this LSU offense is playing. Like you feel like you're always going to be able to put pressure on the defense and be able to score runs. So them even going down 5, I think it's a testament to where it feels like this baseball team is right now, where it's kind of clicking on all cylinders. Does that concern you at all that maybe expectations as of right now, because it's like you talked about the fan base, with no really LSU men's basketball to watch, with no LSU women's basketball kind of stuttering at the moment, does it feel like these expectations might be a little heightened as it's this early in the season? Like they're still trying to figure some things out.
I think when you come to LSU, you expect that. You know what I mean? I think the expectations, you want expectations to be high. That means you've put yourself in a really good situation, right? Like if people aren't expecting anything, then you haven't really done anything for yourself to create the hype. I think anytime you have hype around yourself, it's a good thing. The 5-0 thing, look, on our show last week, Lloyd, the inevitable 2.
That's right.
Skip Burtman used to talk about the inevitable 2 in the first inning, where it's inevitable that you're going to give up 2 runs because everybody's trying to feel each other out, and that's what happened. You give up 3 runs, and you give up a run, then you give a run, then all of a sudden he flipped the switch and he figured it out, and Adenson he dealt from there on, and LSU chipped away until they got to a situation, to a point where they took advantage of a big inning and ran away with it. So I wouldn't say that concerns me as far as the 5-0, the comeback. I think to me that encourages me. And then the expectations don't, because look, whatever they had the expectations, whether they wanted them or not, whether they deserved them or not, the expectation coming to LSU is always going to be high. This team just seems like they're super confident. Like I said, there's a lot of season left. We haven't even gotten the LSU and the SEC schedule yet. You have, a weekend this weekend, which you should take care of business, and then you start with Missouri, and then the gauntlet starts, right? And so there's a lot of season left, a lot of improvement to be had. But where they're at right now, I think is a good sign. And, I think the boys are playing a lot of confidence.
Yeah, you've got 2 more coming up with North Dakota State, Tuesday, Wednesday, then you kind of finally settle in back to a normal schedule. I have 1 more for you. As I'm looking through the schedule, you say get to the gauntlet. Missouri obviously up first, and then Texas. The game that I have circled that I think will be highly attended, I guess I'll say, is Tuesday, March 25th versus your UL Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns. Do you think that this, because of whatever has happened over the last few weeks, where UL is now 0-3, since they they took a website away, since they killed our king. Do you think that is going to be like the atmosphere in that game is going to be more contentious than ever? Like it's going to feel like an SEC game. Might be fights.
I think it always feels that way, right? I think just, anytime you play UL midweek, UL is a really good team, right? They've
sputtering.
They always give LSU issues midweek.
What's their Super Bowl?
I think the contention is going to be from the fans, obviously, and more from the student section of the fans, I think, than anything. But yeah, I mean, anytime you have a little extra emphasis on a midweek game, it's going to be fun. But I don't think LSU specifically is going to put any more emphasis on that game. I think for them, the weekend's what matters most. And, look, if LSU loses that game, I'm sure everybody's going to feel like the sky's falling. I don't see them losing, but midweek games, you never know.
There should be a lot made of it, that's for sure. I'm
sure.
throwing Kate Anderson.
Yeah, the Texas weekend is going to be great, though.
Oh, yeah.
The Texas weekend on the road, I mean, I think that's why this weekend was so important, is because you got out. It wasn't a true road game, obviously, but you had 4 games away from LSU. And
I can't believe they're making LSU travel to Texas and Oklahoma this year.
I mean, that seems like it's people say to me, but hey, here, I'll tell you this: a lot of LSU fans are probably pretty pumped they get to go to Austin.
Right,
they haven't been to Austin,
definitely.
So if they travel to Frisco, I'd imagine they're going to travel to Austin for the weekend, right? So it's a vacation for the family. You're going to go out there and you're going to see LSU play Texas, which you have never seen in a regular season series on the road. But you had 4 games in Texas this week that's going to really set them up for the road trip in a couple weeks.
Big series for you. That's the. I don't think they've played Texas since 2009. I think you're a big part of that, huh?
Yeah, that was a good one for us. Yeah. That was a neutral site game. Didn't have any home field advantage, but we had fun. It was a good time.
Good time.
Speaking of fun,
good time.
How much fun is it when you're playing with the confidence this LSU defense is playing with, where you feel like you can make any play on the field, whether it's the relay, a flip, put out from second to short.
That was a montage from a movie.
Or a diving catch in center field, left field, right field, wherever. They're making every play. How much fun is it when you have that confidence in yourself and the guys to your left and right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we haven't talked enough about the defense and what they did this weekend. Obviously pitching is great and the hitting is great, but the third part of baseball is playing defense. I mean, we saw it at times last year where we weren't as sharp as we needed to be defensively, and giving guys extra outs and allowing innings to continue. And a lot of times that kind of bit us in the ass a little bit. But this year, so far, this is one of the better defensive teams that we've seen at LSU in a long time. Their outfield, we've talked about their outfield before, and how athletic it is. And it's probably the most athletic outfield that they've had since Jay's been there. You have 3 guys. When you have Curiel, you have Jake Brown out there sometimes, and you got Stanfield. All 3 of those guys can play center field. And obviously Pearson had the game-saving play in Omaha. So you have guys that can play elite defense out there, which that leads to a lot of the diving plays. And then when you go up the middle and you have 2 guys that have experience, and you have 2 guys that are really good communication-wise, you get the up-the-middle glove flip mid-game where you haven't practiced it, and you make these types of plays. And it's just, once you start doing that a couple times, that momentum train just continues to go.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with errors. Once you start making a couple errors, the balls you probably should make, it's kind of contagious, and it takes you a little bit to kind of get back on track. Same thing for good plays, man. When you make the plays like that, that's contagious. Other guys around the field want to do the same thing, and you can ride that wave for a long time.
It feels like the chemistry, at least at this point, the season's off the charts. Like, you see the guys jumping into the pool, Chiefs doing a belly flop. Like, the whole thing it feels a little different than it did last year. Like, last year it felt like it was like it was such a strain to be able to win these baseball games. You're squeezing everything you could to be able to get some wins. Now it feels like they're very dangerous, and now, as you said, ranked 1 in the country between you and Tennessee. So I'm excited to see I guess if there's one question mark, would you say it's catcher or third base at this point? Because you saw Beatty, kind of get dominated behind the plate Saturday.
I wouldn't call it a question mark because I think Luis Hernandez has been good back there. He's thrown a couple guys out. I think he's been fine. I think Aaron Beatty is going to continue to get better. I mean, he's a young guy. He's a freshman. He's gonna figure some stuff out. And I think third base is fine. I think, Braswell obviously is the proven commodity there defensively. Last year he had 300 on offensively. And I know Jay likes Tanner Reeves a lot. He had a good game, I think game 2 of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's been a little bit shaky on defense, with some of these errant throws. And I think that'll settle down a little bit. But I wouldn't call that a weakness. I think you have if Jay really says, okay, we need to play defense, Braswell is going to be out there at third base, and he's gonna lean on Luis Hernandez behind the dish, at least as of right now. So, if I don't think weakness is the right word.
Question mark.
Out of all the positions that doesn't feel as solidified, maybe those two.
Yep,
definitely. Well, we appreciate your time this morning, joining us, talking some baseball. Obviously, have a great show tonight. But yeah, we appreciate it. Good to see you again. And have a good one.
Good to see y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we'll do this.
I've been on the show in a minute.
I know.
Yeah,
we had to bring you back. You went Hollywood on us. You had your own show.
I think y'all lost my number.
Yeah, I found it.
We found it.
But I'll hang out with you later on, 5 o'clock.
There you go. See you later.
We'll go live from 6 to 8 for Mic'd Up, but we'll get there early and set it up.
I'll call you at 4. Make sure you're not sleeping.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate it, buddy.
Yep.
All right,
man.
thanks for joining
Later,
us.
boys.
Later.
Yep.
Go to work.
Good stuff there. Obviously, great.
Thanks.
Yeah.